Today I've got 5 more games that will be leaving my collection. Hey, I'm Jared. This is Specifically Solo, a channel where we focus on solo board gaming and solo modes for those games. And this is the second in a series where I just go through some games in my collection and tell you, for whatever reason, why I'm getting rid of them. Maybe I bounced off of them super hard. Maybe the solo mode is difficult. Maybe I've just played them a ton and I'm kind of tired of them. Whatever the case may be, I've got 5 more today. This is the second in a series. You can check out the first one. I'll put that in the description below. But let's go ahead and get started. These are in no particular order, just 5 games, and here's number 1. Okay, so the first game on this list is a game that came out earlier this year. It's a very new game released in 2024 by a very well-known designer, and that is Simone Luciani. And this is a worker placement game where you are going through and you are exploring as Charles Darwin, and that is Darwin's Journey. So here's the thing about Darwin's Journey. It's a very cool game. You are going through, you're grabbing these discoveries, you're trying to get them to a museum. There's a lot of really cool mechanisms going on in the game. The components are great. It looks really good when it's all set up on the table. Unfortunately for me, the solo mode is so complicated to run that I just bounced off of this super hard. There is so much upkeep and overhead for the solo mode, and that's not really one thing that I like in solo modes for games. I like when, it's a very simple solo mode, or if it is simulating, another opponent, then its turns take roughly the same time as your turns. That's not the case with Darwin's Journey. I feel like I was going through and, the solo mode's turn was taking 2 or 3 times longer than my turn, and I was investing more brain power into figuring out what the solo mode needed to do than what I was doing on my turn. And so that's not really something that I love from a solo mode. So I think if you had 2 or 3 or 4 people to play with this with, or if you have like a regular game group that you can, get this around the table with, then I think this would be really enjoyable. I really see a cool game in there, but unfortunately the solo mode just hampers it so much. So Darwin's Journey will be leaving my collection. So next up on the list is a game that is a spin-off or a smaller game of a much larger popular game, and that is Orleans. So I played Orleans for the first time a few years ago at Gen Con, and I really enjoyed it. I loved the bag building aspect of it. I love like bag building games where you're drawing stuff out of a bag and you're like, what am I going to get next? Like Clacks of Quedlinburg. I love that game as well. And so Orleans was really hitting a lot of those things that I like in games for me, and I really enjoyed playing it during that time at Gen Con. So when I saw this version of Orleans come out, I thought, oh, this would be a nice smaller version. It also can play solo, which Orleans cannot unless you add in an expansion. So I picked this one up, and this is Joan of Arc, the Orleans Draw and Write. And so in this, you've got a board, as you can see, and you've got all these little spaces, and you've still got some of the worker types up here that you use in Orleans, and you are just trying to, get your workers in the best place possible, create some combos, accumulate resources, all that type of stuff. But the thing for this is that the solo mode is kind of complicated for a roll and write or a draw and write. Usually those games are pretty simple. Sometimes they don't even have solo mode. Sometimes it's just like beat your own score type of thing. But this one was really complex for whatever reason, and the rule book I just felt wasn't laid out super well. I had a lot of questions while I was going through trying to learn this game. And I have a lot of other great roll and writes that I really enjoy, and I just found myself not pulling this one out as much as I was getting those other ones to the table. So for that reason, Joan of Arc, the Orleans Draw and Write, will be heading goodbye from my collection. Okay, next, kind of in that same vein of Orleans, this is another spin-off of a bigger game. This is a very popular game, one of the highest ranked games on BGG, and that is Terraforming Mars. So a few years ago, Terraforming Mars Ares Expedition came out, and I picked it up. This is the Target version. And what you're doing in this version of Terraforming Mars is the same type of thing. You're still trying to terraform Mars, but this is more card-based, and you've got a ton of cards that you are going through, and they've got different icons on them, and you're trying to create basically card synergies to work with each other to give you the best outcome possible. Some things that I disliked about this game was I didn't really love the artwork of this particular game. I didn't really love how the gameplay was working for me personally. The solo mode was not incredibly hard to operate for this one, so it really wasn't like a solo mode problem with this particular game. It was just, I just didn't really enjoy this game for whatever reason. And I don't know why. It's very highly ranked. This is obviously, you know, kind of the smaller version of Terraforming Mars, but it's still a very popular version. It's gotten several expansions for it by itself. But for me personally, I just didn't love it. I would like to try the full game of Terraforming Mars at some point just to see if I would enjoy that more. And I know you can play that one solo, but for me, Terraforming Mars Ares Expedition just did not hit the mark, so it will be leaving my collection. Okay, next is a game that is heading out of my collection really for no particular reason other than I've played through it all, and so it's just time to kind of pass it on. And that is Chronicles of Crime 1400. So I love the Chronicles of Crime games. I have Chronicles of Crime. I have Chronicles of Crime Noir. And this was the first in a spin-off series of Chronicles of Crime. A little bit smaller box than the full Chronicles of Crime and a little bit cheaper too, which is nice. But they have 1400, 1900, and 2100. So this is the first one in that series, and I really enjoyed playing through this. It's really fun. It's set in a great world. You are playing as like a knight that is in Paris, and the artwork, as you can see on the back here, is really cool and really well done and fits that theme very well. Lucky Duck does a great job with these games. And for me, there's no really negative reasons here that I'm getting rid of this. It's just I've played through all the cases, and so I'm ready to just kind of let somebody else have that experience with it. And I know that you can get all three, 1400, 1900, and 2100, and then kind of combine them together and play some cases with stuff from all three of the boxes. But I think I'm going to get this one out of my collection for now. Again, I really enjoyed this game. It's just I went through all the cases, and there's not a lot of replayability with this. Once you know the solutions for the cases, you kind of, you know, can't really go through that case again unless you wait like a really long time to play it and you forget maybe what happened. But I like this game. It's just that it's time to move on with it and play another deduction or detective style game. So Chronicles of Crime 1400 will be moving on. Okay, and the last game on this list is a game that is getting a new version here very soon. It is a Rosenberg game, and that is Nieuw. I think I said that right, not 100% sure. But anyway, in this game, this is a worker placement game, and you are fishing. So you are in a fishing village, and you are trying to basically get the most fish and sell your fish for money. And again, really no negative reasons with this game either, why it's leaving my collection. It's just, I have played this a bunch. The solo mode is very, very easy for this game and works incredibly well. In fact, this might be, of those 5 games we went through that have solo mode, Chronicles of Crime really doesn't have a solo mode. But for these 5 games, this one might have the best solo mode of the 5. It works very, very well and is very simple to run. And I really enjoyed this game, but this is one of the first games that I got when I was starting my board game collection about 4 years ago. And I've just played it a bunch. So I feel like I've kind of seen everything that it has to offer. It does have a lot of variety in it. Of course, it's got really well done art as well. And it is a really great solo game. So if you have a chance to pick this one up, if you like other Rosenberg games, you might like this one. This is not super heavy either. It's not like Agricola level. It's down from that. Obviously, he's done a lot of games, and some are very, very simple, and some are very complex. I would say this is kind of like a medium weight game. Again, it's not hard to understand at all. You've got a lot of different actions that you can choose, and the solo mode works great because it's what you do is you just kind of are working against yourself. So like one round, you have these discs, and you place those out. Then the next round, you place different colored discs, and you can't go back to where you place the discs, you know, and the first set of actions. So it's kind of simulating like another player is out there on the board, but it's really just you working against yourself. So it's a really well done mode, and I really enjoyed the game. It's just I've played it a bunch, and I've got a lot of other games that I am wanting to play, and so for that reason, I'm passing this one along. That is Nieuw. I'm sorry, I'm not 100% sure how to pronounce that, from Lookout Games. Okay, so there we go. There are 5 more games that are leaving my collection. Just to run them down once again, we had Darwin's Journey, we had Joan of Arc, The Orleans Draw and Write, Terraforming Mars, Ares Expedition, Chronicles of Crime 1400, and Nieuw, all leaving my collection. Thank you so much for watching this video. Be sure to like and subscribe. Definitely helps the channel out. I've got lots of other videos as well. I've got another one of these videos, like I mentioned earlier on, where I've got 5 other games that I talk about that are leaving my collection. Also solo mode reviews, some solo mode playthroughs, and some Gen Con videos as well, as that is coming up here very soon in Indianapolis. So until next time, I'm Jared. You've been checking out Specifically Solo.